I started out wood turning a YouTube turner, and that didn't work out so well. So I came to this group in 2018, and I met a great bunch of people. I've been mentored, I've been helped, they've answered questions, and that's the great thing about this group is and they're great people besides. So thanks for coming. I hope I can share some of the info that I've garnered from other members. And if you have any questions as I go along, please interrupt and ask. Well, this is Monterey cypress. It's not wet, but it's still pretty green, smells wonderful. That's one of the reasons I picked it, because it smells so good and you guys will benefit from it. But we're going to look at the OneWay system. OneWay makes 4 different size cutters for hollowing bowls. So you can turn all the way from like a 5-inch bowl with the 9-inch up to a 20-inch with the 16-inch. Part of the thing you need to change on your lathe is this stand for the cutters. These come specific to your size for your lathe. So taller lathe, you know, a 24-inch throw. This is 20-inch, so this is for a 20-inch riser. 24 riser for a 24-inch, and give a 12-inch or something different, 14, it'll be shorter. So just as I started out, I used face plates for everything. For green wood, when I started shaping the outside of the blank, and I don't know, I was breaking screws and I was stripping them out, and I was struggling with, oh God, this face plate takes so much time.
You put your mic
Closer? You can't hear me? Yeah. All right, is that better? There we go. So Mr. Wells, or Wells Schumacher, I was over there getting some pointers on coring, like, why is my bowl flying off the lathe and that kind of thing. And we talked about the size of the tenons. But one of the things he introduced me to was a screw chuck. And these things, oh my God, I haven't used a face plate since. And this screw chuck I use for probably 90% of my green logs. I mean, this is backwards, but I screw it into this hole right here, you know, on the headstock. And I screw that in, and I always follow it up with the tailstock. It's so important to have that tailstock engaged when you're turning with a wood screw. So, but I could turn a 16-inch bowl that's hardwood on this guy, and I use that mostly, but you know, for this one, it's softwood. I use this one. The OneWay has a screw chuck that goes inside the middle, and that screw chuck, oh, they work great. Never had one come off. So this is this log. Wednesday, I went to pick it up, and I was looking at it on the ground, and I think, it's not a very big log. And then he loaded it up in the pickup, and holy crap, it grew. And it's a piece of Monterey cypress. And there's me unloading it. I bent my tailgate rolling logs off the back of it, so I try not to do that anymore. So I use a loader. It helps to have a loader for big stuff.
We'll run out and buy one.
Yeah, well, I use it for other stuff too. And this is just a real quick preparation of this blank. So here's the log. It's a little long. I cut it, the second slide to the right shows 24 inches. I cut it a little big, and I had 2 7-inch blanks. I meant to bring the other one because I cored it yesterday and I forgot in my excitement today to get here. So I got a nice piece in the middle there. I think it was 3 inches. I cut the pith out. I get rid of that. Well, I keep the wood on each side of the pith for quarter sawing wood. So I got 2 blanks and then cut it with a saw. And then there it is. I drilled a hole with a drill, and there's my screw chuck I just showed you, and mounted it on the lathe. And you'll notice that I've got the screw chuck, it's screwed in on the right. I got that thing. That's like, don't try it without that tailstock, with that live center engaged. It's crucial, and it's safe when you do that. And I like I say, I've turned 23-inch bowls with this same setup. I don't do it anymore. What am I going to do with a 23-inch bowl? 16 is kind of my limit now, and that's more bowls are better. There's some redwood burl that I had that I just cored a lot of them. And these are the different size lathes, and I want to talk about the tenon. And that was one of the reasons I went to see Wells was I'm having trouble with these tenons. I had a 20-inch bowl, and I've got a 4-inch tenon on it, and they were breaking off. Well, you got to buy a bigger jaws and a bigger chuck. So I ended up buying some Vicmark chucks with 5 and 6-inch jaws. And this is a 6-inch right here for this one. It's probably a little bigger for this bowl, but coring can be aggressive and it's rough, and I feel a lot safer with it. And I've never had a trouble after that. I make my tenon a 1/2 inch or just under. I want that full bite on that in that jaw as much as I can get in there. And I haven't had trouble. I stalled it a few times, and but it hasn't come off. And this is talking about your lathe speed. Not only that, but your torque. For my first 3 years, I turned everything from pins to coring on that middle belt, on that middle pulley on the lathe. And you know, max was 900, but it didn't have the torque I needed. I kept stalling out, and somehow along the way, I can move it to the other pulley, and I got torque, and it doesn't stall anymore. It doesn't go as fast, but it doesn't need to. I'm only running, well, like I say, 400 to 500 RPM for coring. And these are the types of cutters that you can use on your, because you have to replace these things. If you do a lot of coring, they wear out. So OneWay has the standard high-speed steel. Right here, I'll hold one up. Maybe you can see that. Sorry.
Let's go from above.
I'll just go up closer. How's that? Maybe move it on right now. I don't know what I'm doing.
Go over it. Just go over. Go to the overhead.
There we go. So it's a high speed. Actually, it's carbide, but it's a similar shape and size. But that's the type of cutter that you can get. $60 for a OneWay or a OneWay distributor, and the AZ carbide is $30. So that's a no-brainer. I'm going to buy the AC carbide, and it's a better, lasts longer, stays sharper longer. And Kathy was kind enough to bring this in to demo. It's called the Hunter Pro cutter.
I think.
Hunter, I've got it on my slide here. You'll see it in a bit. Hunter Pro Core.
I think it's.
Anyway, you buy this mount and you screw it to your lathe, and then the cutter is replaceable. The only thing is if you're using 4 different cutters, you got to have 4 different mounts, and they're 150 a piece. The whole setup with the cutter is 200. If you do a lot of coring, it's more than worth it. But I'm kind of not tight. What's the word? Frugal. Cheap. Well, cheap. So anyway, those are the 3 different types of cutters that you can use on.
So you would waste the $300 bowl because you didn't want to buy the right $50 cutter.
Well, no, these cutters are fine. They work great. I like them. I haven't used that, but I don't want to spend the $100 and $200. And then I got to move it from cutter to cutter to cutter, or buy 4 of them for $800. So $800, that's what I paid for the whole setup. So I don't know.
Everything that you
It's a personal choice.
Yes.
So they're a better quality. They last forever. That cutter has 4 sides, so you can just turn it 4 different times, and you get a sharp cutter each time. So $30, you get a new one. You decide. They're both good options. And I already talked about the knives, fill in the empty spot in the middle, and there they are. This is kind of something I learned in Provo, Utah, when I took a class with Kirk DeHeer at Craft Supply. He put these washers underneath those bolts. It's really a bear when you're working with this thing, and the bolts are right here down to the base. And when I was doing a lot of it too, and I keep banging my knuckles on the ways, and so I got them up now. I haven't had trouble with banging my knuckles. So I highly recommend. Washers are cheap. You can buy a special handle for it too that costs a little more. Again, personal choice. Now I got to find a clicker. I'm almost done here. The height of your cutter is real critical. I use the tailstock, the live center point. If that point matches the headstock, then, which it should, you're fine. It's readily available and right even. And this is my own invention, not my idea. I saw it online and I really liked it. This was my second version of a laser setup. You can tell it's homemade, piece of PVC, a wood down here that hopefully, yeah, it fits inside of the cutter side of the, I'll show it later on the, what do you call this thing? The base. So that goes in right in there where the cutter goes. Just a simple setup, all manufactured. My second edition locks in, and I got a pipe thread, a pipe plug there to PVC that'll lock it in. Works fantastic. You can measure. Well, will argue the point, and he likes to measure. His personal, what do you like to do? When we were in Provo, Utah, they did a coring lesson, and Kurt had pieces of plywood cut, for the different cutter size, each one. And that works if the blank size is always the same size. But if you have a blank that's only, this is 7 inches, I believe. If it's only 5 inches, you can't use that theory. You got to measure. So you can measure, that works. I love this setup. So simple things, like these holes in this tend to get plugged up or shavings fly in there. You got to blow those out and keep it clean so you have the correct height when you put your cutter and your cutter support in. Little tips and tricks, cleaning off the weight, it's just like you got wet wood. My lathe was covered with stains, and I started cleaning it. I don't worry about it anymore. But I do keep the ways clean, and I like to wipe it before I move this. I have a piece of plastic sometimes I'll put in here to cover the lathe ways to keep the water off of it. I got a sheet over here and a piece of plywood here so I can contain the shavings and the water, because there's literally a stream of water circle. I'm usually, you can see it on my jacket how dirty it is. So let's go back to there. Fluid film, great cleaner. It's all I use. I've tried many. I like it the best. Which cutter for which core, I'll explain that later. Oh, wet wood versus dry. I've turned dry wood, as Larry can attest. I think it was rosewood, and another piece was walnut. I will not turn dry wood anymore unless it's real soft. It actually bent my arm. Not this one. This is Bill Hopkins, but it bent my cutter, and I actually bent it back. It took me a couple of times to get it in the right position, but I was able to fix it instead of buying a new one. So I don't turn dry wood anymore.
Turning wet wood, generally, you don't worry about dust. When this cutter goes in, it heats it up. And if it's an aromatic wood, it's going to volatilize those oils, and those get into your lungs. So if you're using a wood that's like that, use your dust collector at the same time. Yeah, otherwise you're going to be sneezing before you're done.
Yep. Yeah, and I started out as a turner doing green wood, and it's a great way to learn. If you're a beginner, green wood turns a lot easier than dry wood, and it's a great place to learn. Your mistakes aren't so critical if you do. Can we go back to that? I'm almost done. Twisting cores. That's about it. Oh, and it's important. I talked to Chelsea before we started here, and she had the same issue. There's a Allen head screw that's set that turns these that holds these cutters in place. That just comes off, and you got to make sure that screw is tight, because if it vibrates, if it's loose, I had one just a couple months ago break, a brand new carbide tip, $30, broke because I didn't have it tight. I looked at it late. Oh, it's loose. How the heck? So another key thing is when you take that off, there's ridges underneath this, and you clean those off and clean the bottom of the cutter to make those tight and make them fit, and you'll never have a problem.
Do you use Loctite?
No. Oh, no. You got to take these on and off all the time to sharpen them, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. I think I'll go ahead and start. So this one, I decided to leave this and face it off for you here instead of doing it at home. And another thing, when you're working with coring, I double check this as I go to make sure the coring, it's pretty aggressive, and I want to make sure that's tight. Let's see, I need glasses here. And so now I'm just going to take the 5/8, I think it is, 1/2 inch hole gouge, and face that off smooth so I can make my lines on there.
How big is that bowl?
This is 16-inch diameter. I don't know how deep it is. I think it's 6 or something. 6 inches. Well, it'll be 5.5 by the time we're done. Deep. So hopefully that's still hear me there. All right, so this is where we get to make some shavings. Well, this has a digital readout. Mine, well, they're starting to vibrate, so we'll turn it down a little. Get the steel down. Yeah, I could have done this at home. And another thing I do, I don't grip this like this with a closed hand when I'm going across like this, but I like to keep my hand open. Because when you get to the other, it cuts pretty smooth, but if you go over center a little bit, this lathe will pick it up and slam it. And if your fingers are down there, they're going to get slammed. So keep your hands open and just looking at the center of the bowl like this. I'm not trying to rush it too much. I'll take it slowly. Now, let's see how it looks. Let's see, where is it? There it is. I'm going to clean that up just a little bit. The pencil doesn't break when I'm. And we're ready to mark it. So it's all faced off, fairly clean. And so I've got a pencil and tape measure, and I'm going to measure the outside of the bowl first, just a 16 inch. I'm going to make it 1.5 inches, right in the middle of a beautiful knot there. I love it.
Why 1.5 inches?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just picked that out of the air, 1.5 inches. For every inch of diameter, 1/10 of an inch thickness for your rough turn bowls. So 15 inches would be 1.5 inches. So that's why I'm just going a little over 1.5 inches. So this is where it's nice to have a button over here. I got to do it the other way now. See? And 3/8 out from there. Yeah, so there, you can't really see that first one. So first one's marked. Now I need a new pencil. Luckily I bought a couple extra. So now I'm going to measure in from the back. I'm going to measure in if you have the overhead. I don't know if you can see it here.
Yeah, the overhead doesn't.
Wrong way. I'm going to measure in 1.5 inches from here, from the face of the jaw. I'll go a little bit less, even 1.25 inches. It's a lot easier to cut it when it's wet than to turn it when it's dry later on the bottom. And then I'll make it 3 inches out from that mark. That's my first core. So I line mine up to the outside there. Can't really see it yet. You will the next one though.
So 3/8 of an inch is the
Thickness of the cutting.
selected. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where the cutter's gonna ride right into that 3/8 inch cut there. It's gonna go from this outside to here. So the next ones I measure from the inside of that is 12 inch. So we'll use the 11.5 inch cutter because it's only 1/2 inch bigger. So what I say, 12 inch. So I'm gonna make just a little over 1 inch for this one. And we'll mark this one.
What was that ratio again? Can you explain that ratio?
The ratio for the thickness of a rough turn bowl is 1/10 of an inch per inch of diameter.
1/10 of an inch per inch of diameter.
So if you have a 15 inch bowl, you're going to make it 1.5 inches. If you have a 10 inch bowl, it's 1 inch. 5 inch, 1/2 inch.
Otherwise known as 10%.
10%.
There you go.
Thank you.
You don't have to find a tape measure that shows
So now
metric.
we'll mark the next one. This one worked a little better here. And we'll mark the face. And now I'm going to measure over here. What I say, 1.5 inches, 12 inches. Yeah, that was a little over 1 inch, not 1.5 inches. Yeah, inch. So I'm going to make this a little less than 1 inch, 7/8 for this size, and then 3/8 out from there. And you do have to do measuring, even with a laser. So same thing. One thing to remember is make sure what line you're lining up here, you're picking the right here. I messed up before and cut into the wrong bowl on the bottom. So you won't do that more than once. And the final one is 9 inches. So 9 inches is going to be, and I got enough meat on top here. I think I can get that. I'll make it a little less than an inch, 7/8. So we're almost done marking here. This will be the last one.
Well, it's the first one you're going to be cutting, right?
First one I'm cutting.
Right.
I cut from the inside out. I found out it's a lot easier just to put a tenon on the inside cores later after it dries. It's not very flat there. Okay. And then on top, same thing. We're going to go inch, 7/8, about 3/4 of an inch, a little more. Well, I'll just do 7/8. And then measure 3/8 from there. And then we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 bowls out of this. Is that right? Yeah, 4 bowls. So now I'm going to put a mark up here, about a 1/2 inch or so, eyeball it. Then this is where I'm going to hollow it out to. I hollow out this middle one, about 3/4 of an inch. So, and that's what I'll do now. I'm just going to hollow this out to this line up here. You can see this. I keep switching on you, I'm sorry. So this line right here, I'm going to bring that center hollow in, bottom out there. Boy. I could almost feel the dull on it. Wow. I can't read. A couple more steps, we'll have this one done. That's kind of key when you're starting your cut into a face like that is you don't want to start with a point in because it tends to skate back just like I did. You start with this parallel to the wood, the cutter right here, the edge of the tip, parallel with the wood. And then once you get it in there far enough, then you can bring it in and come around and do your hollowing. But you want to try to avoid that skate like I just did. We'll do a couple more. Let's try with smaller cuts too.
So this is where you find that those leaf to push the hole is deeper than your mark.
Yeah, I don't want to go any deeper than that mark. I'm just cutting too slow a speed. So it's helpful to use something to stick in there, and I'm eyeballing up or down here to get the depth to see where I'm at before I go too far. I'm almost there, another 1/4 of an inch, and I'll be at the depth. But I've got like a 1/2 inch out to that line there, so I got to make it a little steeper. I'm not used to this thing being so close. Just there, bro. Yeah. And once I get it engaged, I'm kind of freehanding it out here, but once I get it turned around here, I can set it to my hip and I'm a lot more stable. And then it's just following it in. And then don't rush it when you get down to the core, like I just did. So, whoops, over here.
What's the benefit of carving out the first bowl?
What's the benefit? Dries better. You can do it now. It's easier. When it's dry, it'll be harder to cut. And it's simple to do right here.
Do it now versus do it later.
Yeah. So that one's right on the money. So now we're done. Oh no, there's one more thing I got to do before I move on to coring. Real simple thing is these lines now. I wanna cut, thank you. Cut a groove into each of these markings. It makes it a little easier for the cutter to enter, especially when you notice, well, there's a hollow, there's a, what do you call it, a knot right here. And it just is really rough to get them started. So this helps us get the cutter engaged. It's not very wet wood. There we go. So now we're ready.
Are those just little starting spots for your pouring system?
Exactly.
You use the fill stones during the pouring, right? Or not?
No.
You can't.
I used to because I was scared not to. And I brought a tool. So I do have this, and this is just an extension. It doesn't fit on this one, but mine it does. An extension for the tailstock. So you can put your live center in here and maybe hold it. And I used to do that when I first started coring, but these arms swing out, as you're coring, and they keep bumping into that, and you don't have access. So I quit using it. After I started making big tendons, I didn't have that issue anymore with tendons not holding. So I just brought that to show you that it might be helpful in the beginning. So now we can start coring. We'll bring the base over and set that in. And I'm going to start with the inside bowl first. And what size cutter am I going to use? Well, I got 4 of them here. Which one? Maybe just the smallest, but when you measure this, when you're measuring the core, you're not measuring this inner one, 6 inches. You're coring this outer one, which is 9 inches. So it's important when you're coring the next one. Well, let's just stick with this for now, but you're coring a 9-inch bowl. So 9-inch, we just happen to have a 9-inch cutter, and that's the one we want. That's the one we're going to use. So here I do a guesstimate. I line that up there to the center of where it is. Then I put my thumb out about a 1/2 inch. That's the thickness of that bowl. And I move it in, and then I line up the coring right to the center of that.
No washes.
What?
No washes.
No, I know. This is a bear. I don't like this. I'm not used to it. But I'm only going to... Sorry, Bill. Thank you for letting me use this. Then I take that out, set it aside a minute. Then I get my handy light. And this is so easy. So I line it up to the outside. You can pick the inside or the outside. It's up to you. Doesn't matter. Whichever one you want. I line mine up to the outside, inside of the inner bowl, the outer bowl, I should say, a little bit further out.
Did you say that again? So you're lining up with the outside?
I'm lining it right to this line, outside of the groove.
I don't think I have a camera angle.
Yeah,
The inside of the outer bowl.
the inside of the outer bowl, but the groove I'm cutting to the outside.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time getting this lined up, but I like to get it right on. Pretty darn close. And look at that. Hey, that estimate works about 50% of the time. So I'm right there. I could go a little deeper, but I'm going to leave it. Oh, it's nice when it works with a groove. It'll look good, huh? So here's where I tighten this down all the way. I tighten that one pretty snug. This one, I don't worry about tightening this as much because I'm going to be moving this thing in and out to support cutter. Just a nice snug. It's never moved on me, so there we are, lined right up. And now I need a handle. Okay, so shield down. I'm going to turn the speed down to 450. I like 450. I don't know, 4 to 5. As you get out further, it turns faster, and I might slow it down. So here's, let me back up, kind of a safety thing. I've got this handy dandy glove that, it's beat up, but it still works. Cut the fingers off, and it protects my hand. Something flies. I was helping somebody a while back. They came over to my place. I'm not going to say who, and they wanted to see how to cord. And they were somebody showed them to hold it like this down below, and I said, I wouldn't do that, because if something happens, this flies off, you want to keep your hand up here on top. You got to hold on to this so it doesn't wobble around, but that's easy to do with your thumb, or just keep an eye on it. Don't ever put your hand down there underneath. I just don't think that's a safe thing to do. So that said, we'll continue this. So we're running about 450. And I'm going to stop when I get to this top of the curve right here. Can't see it, can you? The top curve right here. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to insert the support. So let's get to for that point. If it's a real hard wood, I'll probably do it a little sooner, and more toughness, more chance to grit and become a little smooth. They'll have brand new cutters, so I don't think this has been used yet. And I'm used to compressed air. Whenever I do this, I like to blow out that hole on the cutter, and I blow out this groove, and then I blow this off. And since we don't have it here, we make do. So now I'm going to insert the cutter, and this is pretty simple to do. I mean, you just slide it in there as far as it goes, and I get it lined up with the cutter above. These two should match, and then I slide it out just a little bit. You don't want to have it hitting the bottom of the cut there.
That's a support mechanism for the cutter.
That supports the cutter as it goes into the bowl more.
Gotcha, okay.
And so after I do that, I turn it, it turns free. If this isn't turning free, then we've got to do some adjustment. But this is fine. So now I'm going to cut until this lines up with the outside of the post here. So we're almost there, another ½ inch. Now I'm going to start taking it out, cleaning it out. If you don't clean those out, in the beginning the shavings will fall out. But after we turn for a while, get in deeper into the bowl, center of the bowl, those shavings tend to stay in there, and they could jam up on the support cutter or support arm, and it'll get jammed up, it'll heat up. The man. I've got almost there. We're almost done with this piece. But I'm not going to push it. I'm going to go ahead and gauge it a little more. I don't want to overextend it. Always wait for your lathe to stop until you loosen this up and move it. I made this one a little, I should have made it a little thicker, but that's all right. Oops. So we're almost done with this one. It's turning free. We're good. And a couple more seconds till it's pop out of there. So let's just check it and see. Oh, there it is. Wow. So I'm done with this cutter, this size cutter anyway, for this piece. And now we're going to go on to the next one. And we're going to measure that outside. I think it was 12 or 11 and a half. 12. So that's a 12-inch that we're coring now. We're coring this bowl right here. And now I'm going to put that 11.5-inch cutter in. You know, 9, you can core down to a 6-inch bowl with the smallest cutter. And you can go up to a 10-inch. Then any bigger than 10-inch, then 10.5. Well, you're within an inch of the 11.5. So this is, what did I say this was? 12. So this is a ½ inch bigger. So this is the perfect color for this job. They're almost lined up there. Sometimes they do. Yeah. And then, so I'm lining this up. So I'm going to do the same thing for the center. See if I get lucky again. Now that's about an inch or so. I move that, take my thumb, bring that out to where it's centered in that groove.
Now, are you making sure that the platform there is perpendicular to the way?
I don't care.
Okay.
For the measuring you do, for this I don't care. I just want this point, this line, and this line to line up with the laser. So now we got to move it out a little bit to the outside of that groove. Yeah, let's see if I got lucky again. Yeah, a little shy. I need that a little deeper. I was about a quarter-inch off. So let's move that in. Now I'm gonna line it up out here. You know, a little bit more. That's close enough. Give or take a quarter-inch. So we got 2 cores to go. We're on our second. We're all set up, and just got to move this guy back in place, and we'll do it again. Any questions while I'm doing this?
The arc of the tool defines the arc of the bolt.
Yes, you can't change that with this. Well, you can a little bit, but if you're doing a real shallow bowl, you can move it out and get a steeper cut. So it will change.
It will change. You can change the.
But the arc is the arc. That's where it's going to go.
Right.
But if you can move it out further for a shallower bowl, and you'll get more of a flat bowl. You can't do that. Okay. So again, we're at 468, which is fine. I'm gonna turn up to where the radius, turn to that radius. I must be hitting a mount here. This is turning a little forward, it's a little harder. Once we get through the mouth, it goes a little smoother. And there we go. So now we can go ahead and move that in. Just hitting a little bit. I'm gonna pull this a little bit to clean the outside of it, give it a little more space. Sometimes they get bound up. You can push it and get a little more space that way also. Now I've got all the cables in there. I'm gonna go through. That's having too many savings in there. I jammed them in there. Yeah, if you put it slow, I'm not putting a lot of pressure to begin with. If you put a lot of pressure into either the putter's bowl or it's real hard, you can put it smoke a little bit. So get a depth in there, and ease it in, and then you can push. There we go. As far as I want to go there, I'll just check it. And it's pretty firm still. We're going to have to go a little further. On some woods, I find out it's really hard to break these cores out. You can't get in any further, or they won't break. So I've been in there with screwdrivers and try to pry them out and break them. Another thing I found, some wood you can actually grab that center. Be careful when you're banging them. I've got more blood blisters on my palm of my hand where that gap gets pinched in there. So be careful when you hit it. But I also hold it and twist it. Sometimes it twists off easier than it does banging it off. So it's turning free. We're ready to continue. We're almost there. Usually you can hear when it's ready to. You heard it fall, but usually you hear it before it falls. So Monterey cypress is pretty soft, so it's a good one to demo, and it's a wonderful one to turn. And there's I don't know what happened to the other one. I had it there. Oh, okay.
We're keeping it.
Somebody stole it.
Oh, it will be. Yeah, don't worry about that.
And then we're done with that cutter. And then we'll move on to the next one.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Is it a sort of a rule that you stop the cutting as this handle gets close to this head? Was that what you said?
When the inside of this handle, when the inside of this handle.
Yeah.
Here. When the inside of that handle hits right there, then I move it in further. You can see it up there, I think. So it's the shoulder for the first cut before support. And then after that, it's when you see it better if I do it over here, I think. So when this edge hits the edge of the handle right there, that's when I move it in.
But if you swing the support underneath the knife, you can see it's to prevent too much overhang.
Yeah, you don't want this hanging over too far, especially as you get inside further.
I see.
And you can do it sooner rather than later on harder wood, which I usually do. So now we're gonna go to the next and final core, and this is a 16-inch bowl. So we're gonna use the big one for this one, the biggest. This is, I don't think Bill has ever used this, so thank you.
Probably one I want.
If it was a deeper bowl, I might be able to get all four, but this one we skip one. We're just going with size, 16-inch bowl, 16-inch cutter. So that's all set. We get the laser. We'll stick that in. If I'm going too fast, just slow me down, ask questions, that's fine.
Jen, are you using the number 4 cutter?
And I'm way off on this one, oh my God. Line it up the outside, line up there. So we're all set to go. Tighten that up. So we're all set up here. Everything's tight, ready to go. Last one. Push it too hard. And I think this is the one with a big old knot in it, 2 knots. That's why the other one was jamming up there. We got a knot here and a knot here, so it takes a little more to get through those. A little slower. There we go. And we just repeat the process. That's why I like to blow these off, just to get all that sawdust off the lathe. So it doesn't get under the stand. Like it's doing. That's it. Okay. Push it all the way in and then push it out a little bit. And then turn's free and you can start over again. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and move that in now rather than later. Crown. We'll get close. I'm gonna go ahead and move it in a little more. It's getting there, but not quite. I'll think about it. There it is. Not that one. All right, so the final big bowl, I usually take and get my calipers here and 2 things. I check this and you can see it gets way thick down here further. Whoa, so it's way thick. So you gotta make it an even thickness all the way through so it dries correctly. If you don't, it tends to crack where it's thicker. And the other thing I like to do is check my depth, make sure I was pretty close when I set that up. So there's the, thank you, Wells, he taught me this. I was going through the bottoms of bowls. He said, well, you could make one of these. This didn't cost too much money for a piece of dowel and a piece of wood, and cut a slot and drill a hole. Drill the hole, then cut the slot. So then I put it on the outside, and I'm about halfway in that mark, so we're pretty close. So I could take a little off the bottom.
Is how often do you need to sharpen them? I saw in their video that they say sharpen after each cut you make.
No,
Depends on the wood.
depends on the wood. If, you know, for Monterey cypress, the bigger ones tend to get sharpened more because you're cutting more wood, whereas the smaller ones, not as much.
I give you an example.
I do fabrication. I sharpen the cutter 3 times minimum per cut.
Wow. Per bowl.
Per each bowl cut.
Each
I
bowl.
do.
Well, Stephen, we got a couple minutes. I'll go ahead and do this. It doesn't take long. Before I do, you know, after coring, it's always good to check your jump to make sure. I should have done it in between. It's still tight, it's fine, but you always want to check it before you continue. So now I'm just gonna get it to shape so it's even all the way across. Maybe a little thinner on the bottom. I like to turn it up a little bit for this, actually. I am making a mad song.
Just a
Well, you can
little.
imagine what, if you had done the whole bowl like that. and
Oh, boy.
didn't have a core.
So I'm going a little bit thinner inside, which is what I want. I got a little bit more to do.
How green is this wood?
Not that green.
Doesn't feel very
It's
well.
not very green. It's not fresh, that's for sure. But it does have moisture. If you look at the waves here, oh boy. I should have brought my fluid film. Here's where it would be good to have a bottom blow down. And I'm hanging way a little late right here. So I just happen to have one of those. Not pretty. There we go. Should be close enough. So at this point, unless you're gonna turn it once, which you could do, I would seal it with tree saver, or whatever thing you like, what product you like. Oh, first, no, I wouldn't do that with it. I'll show you what I'll do next. Where are those other cores? So at this point, I take the cores and I mark them. Monterey Cypress, the date, core C, 104, 204, 304, 404. I'm done. Any questions?
Yeah, one. Yeah, could you show me your glove?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a glove that has, you got your money's worth out of
More than once.
If you are turning dry wood, that cutter can get very hot. I branded myself with one. So I use a glove, that doesn't have the fingers removed.
Oh, you do?
And if you are turning dry wood, I would protect the tips of your fingers as well. And, just one other comment, and that is, the cypress is a beautiful wood to demonstrate with because it cuts cleanly. Even the knots cut really beautifully. You did a beautiful job. Some woods are very stringy. Black acacia is one, sycamore is one, willow is notorious. If you turn long stringy wood when it's really wet, it glues up and glues that arm in. Sometimes after you cut even a small amount. So you're constantly going in and out and in and out. And just be ready to do that because that's not the dull cutter, it's the wood. If you keep your finger in touch with this, you feel the vibrations. If it starts getting jumpy, that's a good sign that you need to stick that arm in deeper because some woods are just really grabby and you don't want to get jolted and you don't want to bend a $150 tool. So just, if you haven't done this before, I would dearly advise you to get a lesson so you can do it yourself with somebody watching you that's done this hundreds of times because you watch somebody who's really talented at it it looks easier than it is. And there are mistakes that you might as well, avoid. So, ask Wood, we've got a lot of members in the club that are really skilled at this, but do it with an observation if you're doing it for the first time.
I could add one more thing I forgot to do is when I was turning this large bowl blank, I didn't round off the edge here. You want to be sure to round these edges off. They dry less apt to crack when they're dry. Same with the tenon on the back. You want to round that off a little bit just so it's less apt to crack the outside, those sharp edges.